we're talking about a person of influence listens to people. To be honest, I'm really excited about this chapter. Listening is such a neglected communication skill. As an introvert, I call it my secret weapon. Asking good questions and listening are the two keys to me as an introvert being able to connect with others without draining myself too much. And one thing I've discovered is people in today's world often don't feel like anyone is listening to them. Everyone is broadcasting, blogs, videos, YouTube, crazy people on the news. Everyone's talking. So few people are listening. And most of us feel like our perspective is never heard or accepted or understood even. So this chapter is all about increasing your influence by increasing your ability to listen to others. So John also highlights common barriers to listening. The first one, so many people overvalue talking. I feel like I've been very blessed to be an introvert who went to South Korea and learned to become comfortable with silence. You know, in American culture, most people are not comfortable with silence. A silence of more than half a second usually gets filled by someone else in the conversation. But I've learned how to value silence and to allow people the space to think into their response to whatever it is that I've said. Number two, people lack focus. I think this is increasingly an issue. I mean, for myself, I am easily distracted by moving pictures. So if there's a TV on in the room, I have to angle myself so it's not in my line of sight because that becomes a big distraction for me. As far as my cell phone is concerned, I have turned off all notifications. I do not want that thing beeping or buzzing at me because it is super distracting. I want to be able to focus on whatever it is I'm working on, whether it's a conversation or my own project. Number three, people experience mental fatigue. This is something that I'm super vigilant about because I know in the work that I do, I have to be at the top of my game when it comes to listening and connecting with other people. And so I'm really intentional about getting to bed early. It really surprises a lot of people to know that I get to bed before 10 p.m. It's unusual for me to be up until 10:30 even. But I know I need to get that rest so that my mind is refreshed for the next day. One thing I'm working on for myself now is managing my energy from Monday to Friday. Typically on Thursday evening, I am so tired. And so I know I need to get a little bit better at managing that rest earlier in the week as well. Number four, people don't hear, they don't listen because they are stereotyping. And I have a great story to illustrate this. When I was living overseas in South Korea, one of the reasons I went was because I had started learning Korean language and I wanted to be in a place where it would be a Korean speaking environment. As I was learning Korean, of course I was using it everywhere. And there were several occasions where I would go into a store and start speaking Korean, asking questions. The shopkeeper looked at me and said, no Englishy, no Englishy. Well, I wasn't speaking English, but because they saw this white face, they heard English. They stereotyped me and they heard what they expected. Strategy that I used after that happened 2 or 3 times, I started warming up their ears by saying hello in Korean, giving some simple greetings in Korean, and then asking my question in Korean so that they could be expecting Korean. But the truth is, people hear what they expect to hear. They don't hear what you say. And so if they have a strong stereotype, they won't hear you clearly. The next, carrying around emotional baggage. I think this is closely tied to stereotyping. If you have emotional baggage related to a certain type of person or a certain topic, you're going to be hearing through a filter. You're not going to be hearing what's truly being communicated. And finally, being preoccupied with self. It's said that most people are listening to respond instead of listening to understand. You want to have this great response so that everyone looks at you and says, oh, how smart you are. The truth is, if you let go of paying attention to yourself and your response, you really focus in on what the other person is saying and you reflect back what you've understood, it's going to give a much better, a much stronger impression. There's a TED Talk actually that can connect to some of these barriers. So here's the TED Talk. Julian Treasure, 5 Ways to Listen Better. This talk is from 2011, but it's timeless. It's so powerful. And you can see here, he's recently come out with a book in the last couple of years. Didn't know that. I might have to pick that up. But here are all the talks that he's given. 4 ways that sound affects us, sound health in 8 steps, 5 ways to listen better, why architects need to use their ears, and how to speak so that people want to listen. So I highly recommend Julian Treasure's TED Talks. The 2 that I think are the most impactful for our purposes in communication skills would be 5 Ways to Listen Better and How to Speak so that people want to listen. Highly recommend it. Thank you for joining us tonight, and I'll see you soon.